sessions which are recorded are going to be available إن شاء الله بعد ال ICW على اليوتيوب. That if that's okay. Sylvia, if you can please turn off your cam بس عشان نكون في الادميشن. Thank you dear. زي ما كنت بقول لكم احنا ده سيشن من السيشنز اللي بتقوم بيها الاي سي اف ايجيبت شابتر كنوع من انواع في الاي سي دبليو انترناشونال كوتشنج ويك، والهدف منه هو raising awareness regarding الكوتشنج بشكل عام سواء كان مع الاندفيديولز او في الكوربريت. سيشن النهارده من السيشنز اللي انا personally excited جدا ومستنيها بقى لي حبه من اول لما اعلنوا ومن اول لما we were scheduling الموضوع ده. فيعني I'm gonna say ان هي it's my good luck ان انا اكون انا اللي حاضر معاكم فيها. Let me first introduce coach Amira. Amira هي PCC coach من الاي سي اف، مركزه اكتر وفوكسنج اكتر على الاوكيوبيشنال بيرن اوت. She has 25 plus years of corporate experience managing transitional projects and facilitating business learning. She deployed her business strategies in multinational organizations or local firms within the Egyptian market, زي ما قلنا internationally and globally, within 10 years of experience in strategy development and management. Welcome يا أميرة أو يا coach أميرة.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ahmed.
Thank you, dear.
It's a pleasure to be here. Yani, every year I really enjoy participating in the International Coaching Week. So thank you for having me.
Pleasure is all mine, dear. Pleasure is all mine. Addition طبعا عظيم جدا للسيشن دي، ويعني it's first time to meet you. فيعني I'm more than honored ان اكون معاكي النهارده. دكتور دينا صلاح. دكتور دينا هي Associate Professor of Computer Science, specialized in software engineering. She has 24 years of work experience in Egypt, UK, and US. She worked as Fulbright visitor scholar for University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, United States. She's a researcher associate for Open University of UK. She worked as an assistant professor at the Department of Management and Department of Computer Science for the American University of Cairo, AC. She worked with group member for IEEE P7000. She modeled process for addressing ethical concerns during system design working group. التوبيك النهارده اكتر من عظيم، و I guess ان انتوا الاثنين are more than the best fit to the best calibers to talk about it. فمش عايز اعطل الناس زياده.
We're gonna do our best, inshallah.
Be my guest. I'm gonna close my cam and mic. I'm gonna be here for assisting anytime. The floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmed. I know Dina keeps jumping on and off, but I would like to thank Dina for joining today because she is the subject matter expert when it comes to the technologies that we're going to talk about today, especially the ethical aspects, because part of what we're going to talk about today is the technological part. And until Dina pops back on, I would just like to give a very quick hello, ya Dina. Thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. You're muted, ya Dina. I just wanted to give, thank you for agreeing to do this. And I wanted to share how we actually know each other. Do you mind?
No, of course not.
Dina and I, we met during our college years. We both studied managerial science. That was the official name of what we were studying. And we focused on management of information systems. But then after graduation, our kind of professional trajectories diverged. Although I think we both started with software development at the beginning, but on very different platforms. I pivoted towards corporate, and later I kind of started working in process development and management, strategy development and management. And Dina, of course, entered the academic field, and through her studies and research, Dina pivoted into computer science. And here we are, several years later. We're not going to say how many years, but several years later.
Yeah.
I am a leadership and well-being coach who specializes in occupational burnout, but I still retain some interest when it comes to technology. And Dina is an assistant professor of computer science who is interested in psychology and coaching. And
Yes.
today's talk is almost like the intersection between these two disciplines. So I think it was meant to be that we would start together in the university, diverge, and then kind of come back to this intersection. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And this is a very interesting way of looking at things. Yes.
When I was kind of reflecting and thinking about the introduction, I mean, you know me, I'm very introspective. So I was like, wow, it just kind of seemed like it was, you know, it was meant to be. So today I'm just going to share my screens. Today we are going to talk about AI and coaching. We're going to talk about the use of technology in coaching, more specifically artificial intelligence technology in coaching. And before we start about technology, I just want to remind everybody, what is coaching? And here I'm referring to the ICF's definition of coaching. I took this from the ICF's Code of Ethics, because our talk is almost going to be bookend with the Code of Ethics, because we're going to mention ethics at the end. And again, coaching, it is the partnering with clients in a thought-provoking creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And here the emphasis is on process. So today, when we are discussing technology, specifically AI and coaching, we are talking about the use of technology and artificial intelligence in the coaching process. And of course, the use of technology isn't new in coaching. Everybody who's practicing uses technology in one way or another. And the legacy use of technology in coaching would come under one of two categories: either workflow management, which was basically managing the business part of coaching, the scheduling, the billing, the contract management. This is what we would call workflow management. And then we have telecoaching, which was using either telecommunication equipment and infrastructures or video conferencing platforms to deliver coaching remotely. Again, 2020, everybody was doing Zoom sessions. We were all doing online coaching. We really didn't have an option. The other option was to not coach when people probably needed it the most during COVID and during the lockdown. So telecoaching would encompass any kind of technology that we would use to deliver coaching remotely, including those platforms, plus like whiteboards, gamification software, such as Kahoot, if you guys use that during your sessions. So these were the two areas where technology kind of was present in our coaching practice. However, we're seeing now a lot of trends popping up. And there seems to be some interest in the coaching industry from the technology firms. And I mean, it does make sense, because if we look at the coaching market, it's a 4.5 billion market. This was the revenue in 2020. These figures are from the ICF's Global Coaching Study that was released in 2023. And of course, the figures here, we have the market size in 2022 was a little bit over $4.5 billion. And the growth rate from 2019 to 2022 was 12%. There is a caveat that the data, these numbers are based on data from the participants, people who participated in the study. So this might be a fraction of the market, not the whole market, but still, it's $4 billion. It is a big market. Furthermore, the coaching industry can come under other markets, such as the learning and development market. And we see this when we talk about executive coaching. It would come under corporate learning and development, or coaching could come under the mental health services market. And sometimes it would come up under the wellness market. And again, these are not necessarily discrete markets. They might be subsets of each other. The market size ranges from $20 billion projected market revenue in 2023 for the mental health services, all the way to $7 trillion for the wellness industry. But of course, as you can see, the wellness industry encompasses a lot of things. So these are huge markets, and it makes sense that tech companies would want to enter these markets and to capitalize on the growth of these markets. And as practicing coaches, we see this every day, that there is a need and a demand for coaching in various contexts, in executive coaching and life coaching and well-being coaching and wellness coaching and relationship coaching, whatever the context is, there is a demand for these services. And therefore, this is why tech companies have entered the market. Now, this is just a map to show the various technologies in the wellness market. I decided to depict it in the wellness market because it was the biggest, the most encompassing. And if we look at the technology or the apps, these are specific, these are apps that are used in the mental wellness arena. We'll see apps like Headspace and Calm. I think most of us are familiar with these apps. We've heard about them. And I actually have Calm installed on my phone, and I do use it sometimes. Their storytelling for sleeping is really, really good. And some of their guided meditations, I like them as well. So again, there is interest from the technological companies to enter the coaching arena because it is a growth market. It is a market that is growing. But the question is, where will technology kind of enter? What will it do? This diagram is from a paper titled, I'm Only Human, The Role of Technology in Coaching. And it kind of depicted the coaching process, starting with the coach selection. This is from the client's perspective. So the first step that the client does is select the coach, and then it ends with the evaluation of the services rendered, were they quality service or not. Now, in order to move from the selection to the evaluation, there are three categories. The business management aspect, which would be the workflow that we mentioned. This is where technology actually can enter in any of these four stages or categories within the coaching process. So we have the business management aspect, and then we have technology that is used to supplement as an addition to the face-to-face coaching that happens between real-life coach and real-life client, real-life people. But there's also technology that aims to replace the face-to-face coaching. So what we're going to talk about today is the use of technology and specific AI-driven technology in these two aspects as supplements to something additional to what a face-to-face coach does or a real-life coach does, and also the kind of technologies that are coming up with the objective to replace face-to-face coaches. We're not going to really talk about the other aspects. But before we can talk about the AI trends in coaching, I think we need to understand what is AI. And here I will leave this up to the expert. So Dina, can you explain to us in very simple terms, things that we can understand, what is artificial intelligence?
Hello, everyone. So basically, artificial intelligence is the science that tries to imitate human intelligence. So for us to make efforts in order for the computer to be as intelligent as we are. So for this to happen, we have to, first of all, reflect on what makes us intelligent. What makes us intelligent is that we observe the environment, we gather data from the environment around us, and then we start to learn from whatever data we gathered, and we start to improve our action, and we start to improve how we perform, improve how we respond to events. So whichever software you create, that's able. Yes?
There was some connectivity issues. I'm not sure.
So,
it's on I think it's on my end. I'm sorry. No, it's on my end. Please proceed.
okay.
I apologize for interrupting.
So whichever software that is created that can gather data from the surroundings, that is able to observe data, and then take this data and learn from it, and then act accordingly in a better and improved manner, is a software that's based on artificial intelligence, okay? And artificial intelligence in itself is not only one line or one technique, it's various techniques that work together in order to achieve this objective. So it's machine learning techniques, where the computer, the machine, the word machine refers to the computer. So the computer learns from the environment. Natural language processing, where the computer, when it learns and when it communicates in natural language. So natural language is the language that we use in order to communicate with each other. It's like how we talk in Arabic, how we talk in English. It's not a computer language where you have to learn a certain programming language in order to communicate with the computer. No, artificial intelligence resorts to natural language. It talks to you as you talk to your colleagues, as you talk to other humans. Okay, so basically it uses machine learning, natural language processing, and then it represents these findings or conclusions or whatever has been learned in a very representative manner using techniques from knowledge representation. Okay, and then at the end, this might involve, it depends on the domain. If it's something that requires a lot of computations, then it also uses computational intelligence techniques. But at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is the science that tries its best in order to make computer as intelligent as human beings.
And what I understood, Yadina, from your description is that in order for the AI to be intelligent, it learns by gathering. You said, like, we learn by observation, which is gathering information and data. Similarly, the AI would do that. It would gather data.
Exactly, Amira. And this is very important because there are various ways of gathering data. So it can gather data from your search log, your whatever you have been doing on your computer, on your mobile phone, or if you are, for example, you are playing certain games and you're wearing some gloves and some eyeglasses that show what are the scenes that you have been seeing lately. It also gathers data from these kind of equipment. So there is multiple gadgets that it can use in order to gather data. It can gather data from your smartwatch, from various sensors and so on. Okay.
I mean, and we've seen examples of data being gathered, not even if you're just using your phone, but if you're having a discussion near your phone, data can be gathered so that you get certain ads targeting.
Yes, exactly.
So it's either the phone or like smart home devices, any device that listens in order to respond to a voice command, like a smart phone or a smart home device or a smart television, or people who have smart refrigerators. It's probably gathering data by listening in.
Yes, exactly. Because most of those devices, they have an option that's usually ticked called listen to background noise. So whatever we're doing in the background, whatever discussions we're having in the background, this is the background noise.
Yes.
Can we move to next slide? I'm not sure how to. Okay. So now we are going to speak about some examples of artificial intelligence and how these examples of artificial intelligence techniques can be used in coaching. Okay, so I think that nowadays everybody have heard about ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, for those who haven't heard about it yet, it's a chatbot. Okay, so what's meant by a chatbot? A chatbot is a software program that's written in order for humans to chat with it, to have a conversation with it. However, this conversation is so unique because it's in natural language. So you talk to the software program as if you're talking to one of your friends, as if you're talking to one of your colleagues. You can have lovely, warm discussion in which you use your natural day-to-day language. Okay, so chatbots were invented in the 1960s, and they have been improving since then. And nowadays, the most famous one is ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a very advanced chatbot. And what it does currently is that it can have a conversation with you and assist you in almost all domains. So for example, if you are a coach and you are entering a session about time management, and you would like, for example, some sort of examples of warm-up exercises with your coachee, so you can go to ChatGPT and let it know that you are searching for so and so, and it will provide you with these exercises.
I mean, if we could just hold off on these examples until we get to very specifics about where it will come in coaching, I would prefer. Would you like to go through these technologies? Because these are other technologies that people might have heard of.
Okay.
And then we're going to relate this all to the actual coaching.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So also, beside ChatGPT, another artificial intelligence-based technology is to use robots in whichever interaction with human. We call it robot-human interaction. This is a huge research domain called robot-human interaction, where you actually involve robots in interacting with humans in situations that we used to depend on other humans in. So for example, you depend on robots in nursing homes for elderly people. You depend on robots in hospitals to act as nurses. You depend on robots to act as coaches, okay? And the word robots, the first thing that comes to mind, and I imagine that this is the same for most of people, that when I say robot, you think of a metal robot who's like walking in a very rigid manner.
Way,
yes, mechanical and rigid manner. However, this was in the past. Like nowadays, there are very advanced forms of robots, and currently, what's really creating a lot of buzz is humanoids. Humanoids are robots that look like humans. So they have hair, they have flesh. Their skin is a bit warm like our skin. They can smile, they can do gestures, they can have really interesting facial expressions. So again, this is one of the technologies that can be used in coaching, and we will speak more about this. And there's also virtual reality and augmented reality. Virtual reality, like if you have seen the movie Matrix, guys, you would know that virtual reality is the technology in which you use certain equipment, like for example a headset, like certain gloves, and you start with your headgear, you start playing a game, for example, and you are totally isolated from your surrounding environment. Like if you are in your living room, you wouldn't be seeing who's passing through your living room. You would only be seeing the game that you're involved in, and it would be in 3D, for example. So more or less, it gives you a very believable experience, 360-degree experience of whatever you're watching, but it isolates you from your surrounding environment. Whereas augmented reality is a bit more advanced than virtual reality, because it allows you to be in a virtual experience where you are seeing things that are virtual, that are not real, but it also allows you to interact with these things. So if you are watching, for example, a certain architectural design of a certain building, you would be able to see this building on your desktop, on your computer desktop beside you, and you would be able to see the rest of your room. So you would be seeing the virtual image, and you'd also be seeing the real image. So it combines virtual world and real world together. Okay, again, this is a technology that can be used with coaching. So basically, chatbots or an example of it is ChatGPT, and humanoids are two technologies from artificial intelligence that can be used in coaching, and virtual reality and augmented reality are also examples of technologies that can be used in coaching, and we will talk more about this later.
Okay. I just have a question regarding augmented reality. I think most of us saw the images, the AI generated images of King Charles that were circulated after the coronation.
Yeah.
Because in the definition that you shared, you said augmented reality, it's a mix of the virtual and the real, where the user cannot tell the difference.
Yeah.
with augmented reality, if it's used for, for non-benevolent reasons, would it be something like that?
The photos of King Charles were not actually an example of using artificial. I mean, like, it's not virtual reality or augmented reality. It was more or less artificial intelligence in generating images.
But images that look like they are real.
Yes, exactly. That are so real to the extent that you wouldn't be able to tell that they are real. Like, I have friends who are working in computers, and they were sharing it as if it was real.
Well, unfortunately, Alan, we don't have an example, but they were these kind of very flamboyant images of King Charles kind of dancing, and I mean, it was very obvious that they were fake, but unfortunately, I don't have an example. But we do have examples for when we're going to talk about coaching. But yes. Okay, so Dina, we have here a video. Let's share this video of an example of a humanoid.
Exactly. So again, like, this is an example of humanoids. So humanoids are an advanced form of a robot. So as you can see, this is facial expressions. It can look bored, it can look upset, it can perform more or less the same facial expressions that we are doing. So as you can see, they have hair, they have a very believable flesh. And there are experiments in Japan and in China where actually they have let these humanoids walk in the street, conduct conversations with people, and people didn't know that they are speaking to robots. Okay. So this again is where the future is heading. Now in Japan, there are actually TV shows that are hosted and are presented by humanoids for a few years now.
Okay. So thank you, Dina, for letting us know like the basics of the technology. Now, if we looked at the literature, and when I say literature, this is the research that I did in preparation for today's webinar. So when I say literature, I'm referring to some research papers and also some articles. Again, most of the literature talking about the use of technology or AI in coaching was referring to executive coaching that is used in corporations, because companies are already using technology and AI. So this was a continuation of that. However, in order to broaden the spectrum, I also looked at literature regarding the use of technology and AI in the mental health service industry, because I believe that, the findings in this literature can be transferable to coaching. So when I looked at the literature, the use of AI came under 4 categories. Now, the first 2 are kind of related, and it had to do with, it came from a training perspective. So the first one is helping clients learn new skills. We know that as coaches, one of the things that we do during engagement is we help our clients learn what I like to call life skills. Whether we are using a tool such as like Grow Model or maybe the Wheel of Life, or just learning, other life skills like gratitude, activity, counting, your blessings, any kind of intervention which would lead to a life skill. So we can use AI to help our clients learn these skills. And also AI can be used in tracking the progress of the client's progress towards achieving their goals. And here, this is where virtual reality and simulations were kind of mentioned, and also gamification. And also there is something that is called nudge technology, which is using technology, whether it is AI-driven or not, to kind of nudge the user to do a certain activity. For example, when you get a notification on your smartwatch that you've been sitting down for too long and you probably need to get up and stretch, or when you have like a smart bottle that lights up and pings and says, you haven't drinking water in, I don't know, 4 hours, you need to take a sip of water. So this would be nudge technology. Now, the second category, and this is really where I would like Dina to explain a little bit more about chatbots and ChatGPT, it's used for coach education and training. And specifically, two types of software were mentioned. The first one was using chatbots or ChatGPT while coaches are still in the early phases of their training, where their competency level hasn't reached a point where they can start to interact with real life clients, yet they need to start practicing the competencies and elevating it. So using a chatbot as a client so that this coach under training can engage with it in a coaching dialogue with the aim of practicing and elevating the practice of the core competencies or the coaching competencies. The other use was for practicing coaches. People always recommend that we, as practicing coaches, that we record our sessions and we listen to them afterwards in order to evaluate our coaching skills and identify areas of improvement. So it was also suggested that AI can be used in this venue where it can listen to our recorded sessions and give us feedback on our performance as coaches. So Dina, I would like to stop here a little bit and let's talk a little bit about chatbots, because you said it uses the natural native language, but it needs to learn first. So something like ChatGPT, what data did it use to learn?
Okay, so actually ChatGPT was created by a company called OpenAI, where Elon Musk, and I think everyone have heard of him, was one of its founders. And actually what they did is that they have created a certain data set for ChatGPT to learn from. So unlike what a lot of people think, that ChatGPT is connected to the internet and it learns from the internet, this is not true. ChatGPT does not have a direct access to the internet. It has access to parts of the internet. It has access to selected resources, to selected learning material, whether it's websites, whether it's books, code, documentation that are selected by OpenAI, and we have no idea how they selected it, what is the criteria that they selected, that they used to select these learning data sets, okay? However, it has a data set that it learns from it. So
what are the implications of not knowing what the data sets are?
First of all, this is an obvious lack of transparency. So as users, we have the right to know. We have the right to know, and to when we use a particular software, it shouldn't be a black box to us where we have no idea what kind of algorithms it uses, how does it make its decisions, because any software nowadays is impacting us in some way or another. So this can have dangerous implications. So we unfortunately, OpenAI does not share this, okay? So back to your question and relating this to the other question that you mentioned, Amira, about using ChatGPT in coaching, for example. So you can use it in various methods, as you mentioned, in coach education and training. So it can act as a coachee, and you can have some sort of a training session where ChatGPT acts as a coachee, and you can start practicing with it and so on, and then asking it later on to provide you with feedback. How did I perform in the session? What is it that I could improve? What are the areas that you think are weak points? What are the areas that you think are my strengths? And then you keep on trying and going on back and forth until you master this or you improve in it. And back to your question about where's the data set coming from? I mean, like, we don't know, but it does have a data set. It does have a data set not only on things related to coaching, but things related to almost all life aspects, like therapy, coaching, coding, whatever. When ChatGPT was created, it wasn't meant to be created for a particular domain. It was meant to work for almost all domains, and that is it's a bit worrying, because people use it as if it's a silver bullet. It's 100% fit to any domain, whereas it's not. Okay, it's helpful, but it's still in the early phases. So it learns from whatever data OpenAI has provided it with, and it learns from you, Amira. So when you are providing it, for example, with a scripted coaching session that you have done, and then you ask it to provide feedback, so it stores this scripted coaching session and another coaching scripted session, and then the discussion between the two of you, until it learns a bit about your coaching style, plus the data that OpenAI has included in it. And then it's improved, it has a better data set, it can learn more, it knows you more, and it can provide you with better advice.
Okay, so just to recap here, because yes, we did mention ChatGPT, because again, I think there's a lot of news around ChatGPT, and so this is like, when we say chatbots, I think this would probably be the first one that comes to mind. However, when you spoke about data sets, this is for any chatbot. Specifically ChatGPT, we don't know what data sets they're using, but when it comes to using a chatbot, any chatbot will use my data that I give it as part of its learning. Is that true, or no, it differs from chatbot to chatbot?
It differs from chatbot to chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, like ChatGPT is very straightforward. It's very helpful. You can use it even if you don't have any background in computers. But there are other softwares in the market that can allow you to draw a graphical, like a diagram of, for example, best practices. And then it would take this diagram and turn it into a software and your own chatbot. Basically, you can create your own chatbot without having to be able to code via softwares that allow you to draw whatever is the best workflow, and it will create the code for you. Okay.
But again, this is very interesting, because I've been having these kind of discussions in coach training, because coaching, it's really not a linear process. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. And it's also very much culturally dependent. So when I'm feeding this chatbot my recorded sessions, of course, with the consent of a client, and then the client needs to know that I'm going to do this. We're going to talk about that in, when the ethics part. Or if I'm just using the chat box as a sparring partner, as a coachee, so that I can just work on my coaching skills, I'm basically providing it with data to learn. So if it's going to replace me, it might replace me based on what I gave it,
exactly,
based on my skills. And also when it comes to the evaluation part, evaluating the coaching practice, or how you practice coaching, this for me is, because again, it's it depends on the language, it depends on the culture, pauses and when you stress certain words over words, really depends on the culture and how you use words and gestures to express yourselves. So what I'm hearing from you is that there probably needs to be specific AIs for coaching, so that they can learn from coaches, but also there needs to be specific AI for coaching within certain cultures or with certain languages.
Exactly. And what I think, and this is not in action yet, but this is what I think the technology is heading, is that let's just differentiate how ChatGPT can be used. First of all, with coaches, Amira, you can, if let us say that I'm a new coach and I would like to improve my technique. So I can have, for example, a written script of my last coaching session with the consent of the coachee, okay? And then I provide it to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would provide me with written feedback on, okay, you shouldn't have asked this question here, you should have asked another question, you should have changed the wording of this question, the client is a bit not responding, you seem to have, for example, not...
it'll give us feedback on the performance without going into specifics.
Yes. But there's also, the future will hold other improvements in ChatGPT, where you can provide actually ChatGPT with your video, a video of the interaction with the client, so it would be able to interpret the gestures. And there have been research in the market not related to ChatGPT but related to another software called Affectiva. And Affectiva actually it has multiple usages everywhere, where it interprets your facial expressions, your body language.
Yes, we're going to speak about that in one of the slides. The the emotional AI. So yeah.
So basically, I mean that it definitely can help. It has its limitations, but it can provide guidelines, especially for new coaches, especially also for more experienced coaches who would take the feedback with a grain of salt, like it's feedback. So you be the judge of, this was wrongly interpreted by ChatGPT because of cultural issues. This so-and-so gesture that ChatGPT told me that I shouldn't have done is normal in Egypt, but it's not normal in another country, and so on. Okay.
Yes, I mean, just to share something, because I've just recently completed the PCC assessor training via ICF. It's so subjective. It is so subjective that I would be surprised. I mean, I understand if this AI was fed numerous, we're talking tens of thousands of coaching sessions, it probably can come up with a pattern, but it's still very, very much subjective judgment of the assessor. And when there is debate, then you have to have like a committee of assessors and agree on, you know, the best way forward. So, but it is very interesting. I'd like to move the discussion forward a little bit regarding AI coaches. So what's going to happen if we kind of replace the real human being, this human coach, with an AI coach, just assuming that the technology reaches a point where it can do that, and really reflect on what is the price of doing this. I'm just going to start moving through the slides. Here, we're just talking about the pros and cons of using technology and apps. And this was taken from the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health's website. So I'm not going to go through it because it's just very straightforward pros and cons. And let's jump onto the price of using technology from a coaching process perspective. Now, this model here shows the various factors that impact the coaching outcomes. And this is based on a research done by Eric Dehan and Associates. So the hypothesis was that there are several factors that would impact the coaching outcomes, including the coaching techniques that were used in the engagement, or the coaching techniques that the coach knows, the personality differences between the coach and the coachee, and the client's perception of his or her efficacy, plus the coaching relationship. And I mean, through this research, they found that these three factors can be mediated through the coaching relationship. So the coaching relationship was actually shown to have a direct impact on the coaching outcomes. This was one of the results of this research. And they also found that the more techniques the coach knew, the better the coaching outcomes. Now, the way they were testing the coaching outcomes, it was the perception of the client. The client would say the outcomes were good or bad, or we reached what we wanted to reach. So there was an inference that perhaps the more coaching techniques a coach knew, the more positive the client saw this coach. Maybe the client saw this coach as, you know, more experienced, more capable, and therefore, the more positive they saw the outcomes. Okay, so if we're going to use this model for replacing, you know, a human being with tech, I wonder what are the implications? What is the impact on this coaching relationship that seems to play a very important role in the coaching outcomes, and also it mediates the other factors. So I mean, Dina, if you could join us in this discussion, if we take the training part, having access to a wide range of techniques, it makes sense that using AI or using technology to access a wide range of coaching techniques and coaching methodologies makes sense. But again, it was the client's perception. So when a coach knew a lot of techniques, the client perceived them positively. But will the client have the same perception for an AI? Because we are expecting the machine to know everything. We might not expect, I mean, we expect an expert to know everything. And when they don't know, we expect the expert to be able to, you know, pick up something quickly. But with a machine, we kind of go like, yeah, if I'm going to Google something, I expect Google. I mean, if Google comes back and says, I don't know, we would be very surprised. But also, I'm wondering about the self-efficacy part, the client, how the client perceives him or herself. And if I would take an example of nudge technology, you know, so an app that nudges me to do something. And there's this very simple app, it's called Kindness. And it sends you daily prompts of activities that you can do as a random act of kindness. Now, I think, and this is my observation, and it's not based on any kind of research, but this is my observation. I think that if a client kind of wakes up in the morning, sets the intention that today I'm going to do a random act of kindness, and then starts to be aware and mindful and conscious of all the opportunities presented to him to do these acts of kindness, and then selects an opportunity and does this act of kindness, I think on the long run, this impact in terms of transforming the client will be much more profound than using nudge technology, because I will start the day waiting for this app to send me the prompt and then just looking for a random stranger and to do this act with them. Of course, it's not based on any kind of technology. It's just an observation. And also, I have concerns regarding technology that monitors whatever and gives us feedback. When we use technology to monitor heart rate and footsteps, okay, that's fine, because it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to, take my heartbeat every few minutes. And it's very difficult to kind of perceive anomalies. And I'm also not going to walk around counting my steps. However, if I need a device to tell me that I'm stressed, I would be worried, because a big part, when I'm working with my burnout clients, a big part of what we do is kind of awaken the awareness of the client, because our bodies and our minds, both of these things, they send us constant information about what's going on inside of us. All we have to do is just to be open to receive this information and interpret it according to us. So if I'm waiting for a machine to tell me you're stressed, then I don't know. It feels like it's going to damage awareness in a way. And of course, if it's being used in a corporate context, it's like corporations are using, cameras to monitor the eye movement and the heart rate and sweat of their employees to kind of pinpoint where employees are stressed and where they're not stressed. I would also be concerned with reducing employees' well-being to a number and then maybe to a target and a KPI. So I think there is a price to pay when we use technology. But specifically regarding the coaching relationship, Dina, do you think now with the technology that we have, tech can replace a human being, whether it is an AI, a chatbot, or a humanoid or something like that? Do you think we're there?
No, we're not there yet. It cannot yet replace human beings, but it can complement human beings in a very smooth and nice way. Like, if you don't mind coming to the previous slide, I just want to point something in the previous slide. The previous slide, it spoke about the coaching relationship, okay, and the coaching techniques. So basically, you said, Amira, that the more techniques that the coach knows, the more the client trusts this coach, okay. And as you said, it's a machine at the end of the day. If we are using artificial intelligence and we have, for example, a humanoid coach, then this humanoid coach would naturally know all coaching techniques there is, okay? Yeah. So in this item, we can tick it for robots, we can tick it for artificial intelligence. And then with the coaching relationship, Of course, this is highly dependent on interaction between the coach and the client, and how they interact together, and this involves empathy, and this involves the personality of the coach and the personality of the coachee.
Also, I'm really happy that you pinged on trust, because trust is the fourth competency in the ICF competencies core competency model. And the way we build trust, it's not only through empathy, but also, you know, the definition of coaching, it is a partnership, and it's based on the belief that our clients are capable. So
Exactly.
by believing that, and by, you know, all the actions that we do is to convey this belief to the client can find their sense of agency, and they can do for themselves. I wonder if a machine could have that same impact, because we see loneliness. Loneliness is an epidemic. It's a global epidemic, and we know that social media does not solve the problem of loneliness. So, yeah, but I understand that there isn't enough data out there. There isn't enough research to kind of say if it can replace a coach and build.
There's not enough data. Yeah, there's not enough data for coaches, but there is enough data on other domains that use robots in human interaction, like in nursing homes, like with elderly people, like with in hospitals. And actually, Amira, there are research that is not only theoretical but actually practical, that have created robots with different personalities. So, for example, if you are in a nursing home and you would like a robot to be your companion, who can provide you with discussion, talk to you, be your companion, you can choose a robot with a particular personality that's suitable to yours. If you're an extrovert, you can use an extrovert robot, introvert, an introvert robot, and so on.
I mean, again, maybe this needs to bring us to our ethical discussion, because to me, it's like, it's not solving, it's taking a byproduct of a problem, and I don't think it's solving the problem. It's just remedying the pain that is associated. But I'd like to move the discussion to the ethics, because we don't have time. Very quickly, just also the price of IT, because you did mention, I think it's Activa, which is an emotional AI. There is debate, because a lot of emotional AI or active AI, they use the concepts of emotions being universal, and the way we express emotions are universal. However, we know that there is some research that is coming out, driven by psychologists, that this is not the case. Also, there's some debate about, you know, using technology to democratize coaching and therefore reaching masses. But again, in certain, like in Egypt, it's a developing country. We know that technology is not afforded to all. So I do not think that technology will really help. I think it will further the divide. And also there is some debate around the efficacy of these apps. And for example, this is a statistic from the American Psychological Association that currently there are over 20,000 mental health apps available to mobile users. However, there's only about 2% of those which are backed up by peer-to-peer review and evidence, concrete scientific evidence, published evidence that these apps are really effective. So there is a debate about the effectiveness of these apps. And then we come to, I think, the hot topic, and I think we need like maybe hours and hours to debate it, the ethical perspective of using these apps. So Dina, could you please just talk to us a little bit about the ethical considerations from a technological perspective?
So basically, ethical considerations is a really hot topic worldwide when it comes to different sorts of software, including specifically AI software, because AI software, they have autonomy. By autonomy, I mean that they can act without the need for someone to control them. Like, they have the software allows them to be self-regulating, self-controlling, making their own decisions. So as much as this makes them
Of course, the biases, because we didn't have time, but because of the data sets, they have biases, and therefore in the decisions that they make, their decisions might be biased for or against certain people.
Exactly. So basically, we have the first ethical consideration is what you brought to Amira, bias. As we said, any artificial intelligence software, it learns from the data sets that you give it, and it learns from the environment through sensors and whatever devices. So if the data set is biased, so for example, the data set on so-and-so topic is gathered in Asia, or it's gathered in Africa only. This means that it might not be applicable in other continents. It might not be applicable in other places. And there's also another sort of bias, which is not the data bias, the algorithmic bias. Algorithmic bias is where what is the code?
The logic.
What's the code that helps the software to reach a decision? Since there's no transparency, we don't know what's the algorithm is like. So it's just a black box for us, and it might lead to biases. There's also another issue. So if we are going to use any artificial intelligence software, like for example, let's say ChatGPT, and you will provide ChatGPT with the data of any transcribed, for example, a session with one of your coaches. Privacy is a big issue. Who has control over your information and over the client's information? Who can view your data? Who can use your data? Who owns the data? Is it you? Is it the software? Is it OpenAI? Is it the client? There's no answer.
The data center, the company that's providing the data center, because there was a data breach from the data center, not from the app itself. So there are many entities involved who have access to user data.
Exactly. Confidentiality is another issue as well, because there is a responsibility of maintaining the privacy and protecting us against hacking attempts. As you said now, like the data can be hacked at any point. The transparency is another ethical concern, because as I said, the AI algorithms is usually a black box. Control is another ethical concern. Like, what if at certain point you agree that you will share your data, and the data can be stored in the app, the AI software, whatever. However, at certain point you would like to opt out. I don't want you to take my data. I want my data.
This is
yes.
really, really great. Because of just time constraints, I just want to very quickly go look at the ICF Code of Ethics, because we as coaches and as ICF coaches, we have our own code of ethics. And one of the things of opting out, it's actually in the Code of Ethics. So I've summarized here the clauses that are in the Code of Ethics that would pertain to, and I mean, speaking of AI, somebody has just joined, as an AI has just joined the meeting, the read.ai has just joined the meeting. But anyway, these are the clauses that would pertain to the use of technology in your coaching practice, and your responsibility, because you're still responsible for maintaining this code of ethics. So moving forward, what are we supposed to do as coaches? Summarizing it very quickly in these 4 points. I think, first of all, we have to be informed. If you're going to use technology in your coaching practice, you have to do your due diligence when you are selecting the technology. Understand how it works, not to the point where you're going to program it, but you need to understand how it works. You need to understand who are the parties involved. You need to read the terms and conditions. I know they're kind of tedious, but you have, because you are making a decision, and you have to make sure that your clients' rights will not be violated. Also, stay updated with the latest technology and all the liabilities. Be responsible. Make sure that you're always following. There's no violation for the Code of Ethics. And if you're going to use or recommend certain AIs and you are affiliated with that AI, you have to disclose this to your clients. Also, get involved. There are multiple ethic committees, whether in the ICF or other accreditation bodies. So get involved with these committees, become a part of these committees, and be a part of the narrative. And at the end, we need to see this as an opportunity maybe to observe our coaching industry, and maybe think about moving forward. What do we need to do to adapt to this technology? It's not necessarily a bad thing. It might be the nudge that we need to think more about how we can advance the science of coaching. And unfortunately, we've gone 1 minute over. Dina, could you just come back with the video so that we could I could get an opportunity to thank you? So, I mean, it's a very interesting topic. Again, I think we need hours and hours and hours to kind of go through everything. But thank you for joining. I hope we were able to kind of, just open up areas for the people, get them interested enough to kind of do their due diligence and go out there and research further. I'd be happy to share the presentation with ICF Egypt. Dina, would you like to say something very quickly?
I would like to thank you for inviting me for this talk, and I would like to just say that if anyone has any questions that we don't have time to answer, please provide it on the chat, and maybe we would take these questions and do a follow-up session, or whichever arrangement you'd like us to make. And thank you very much for the invitation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much to ICF Egypt. You guys are doing an amazing job. The events this year were just awesome. I am so excited for next year. I'm looking forward to what you guys are going to do. And thank you, everybody, for your lovely words on the chat.
Thank you, Amira. Thank you, Dina. Seriously, it has been very informative talk. I loved it. And I loved where we linked how actually as coaches, we can get use of the artificial intelligence. For me, it was some sort of an eye-opener or a click when why not actually practice with the AI or with ChatGPT. I loved this. And I guess a lot of startup coaches who are just starting up, maybe facing the challenge of entering the CKA or whatever. So yes, I'm gonna practice with it. I loved it. I love the application of the AI is amazing, and we're looking forward to have way much more of those events with you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your information. Thank you for everything. And people who have been attending here, please make sure to click on the link sent in the chat, and that's to get your certificate for this event. Of course, that's if you're interested in getting the certificate. As said earlier, the recording is going to be accessible after the ICW by a couple of weeks max on YouTube. So follow our social media, make sure to find them. And please, if you need to contact Amira or Dina for any question and you didn't get time, you can send it to any of us and we're going to put it to them. Thank you, dears. See you soon. Bye.
Too much. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.